Hi, I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and this is Relationship Alchemy. Today's topic is do your part for more connection. So many upsets and disconnections happen in relationship because we're talking with somebody or we're doing something together, and then all of a sudden they say or do something that hits an old wound or hits a belief or a fear that we have. And all of a sudden, the nervous system can get flooded with emotion, with sensation, and we don't know what to do with that sensation. So we lash out or we withdraw, which then triggers the other person, etc., and we're off to the races. So I suggest working with this 4-part process that I call the P.A.R.T process. This is why I say, do your part. And this is one of the many conversational and communication structures that I teach in my Relationship Alchemy program for women, which is a 12-month program where I take women through 5 different elements of relationship and life that have them unlock and get to express their true selves so their relationships become more loving and juicy, turned on, fun. So this P.A.R.T process is one of those. The first step, when you find yourself in a conflict or you find yourself feeling disconnected or upset or flooded with emotion, the first step is P, pause. You want to take a time out. There comes a point when our nervous system gets flooded with emotion where it becomes very difficult to stay present. It's hard to stay conscious about what's coming out of your mouth. And the impulse is going to be to try to eviscerate the person with your words. So that this is an animal level brain, like a lizard brain, old brain, our most ancestral kind of brain. Response to danger is to lash out, try to protect ourselves. It's part of the fight, one of the fight or flight kind of responses. So when you notice your system going into fight or flight, you know you're probably about to say something that could create damage or wreckage in the relationship. Right in that moment, it's a good idea to pause. And the way you pause is this. You don't just storm out of the room, because if the person you're talking to has any kind of abandonment wound that's going to make the situation way worse, you're just going to trigger their wound, and then you're really going to need to do a bunch of cleanup. Both of you. So I suggest you take your pause with some version of this. I'm about to say something I'm going to regret. I'm no longer able to stay conscious and present in this conversation. So I'm going to go take a time out, calm my system down, recenter, and I'll be back. The I'll be back part is super important. So remember to include that. When you're taking your time out, that is not the time to rehash the argument or rehash what the person did and think of 10 ways that you can, show them that you're right. That time, your time out time is for you to tend to yourself. It's for you to settle your system. Do what you need to do to come back to yourself. That might be journaling, crying, screaming and hitting a pillow, dancing to your favorite song, taking a walk out in nature, staring at the sky, exercising. It can take 3 minutes or 2 hours. All depends on how intense the dysregulation of your nervous system is and how quickly you're able to bring yourself back. You could do breathing exercises, whatever works for you to bring your system back. And you'll know, you can feel it when your system is back to a more centered place. While you're on your time out, once you feel more centered, then the next step is the A of the P.A.R.T process, which is to ask yourself, what belief or fear got hit, or what childhood wound, what do you actually want? So that you can come back to the conversation with a clear desire, with a clear request. It's important to understand what the belief or fear or wound that got hit is so that you can share it vulnerably. This is how you create a deeper connection with someone, is you actually let them see you and feel you. And this involves sharing your more tender bits. So part 2 of the P.A.R.T process is to ask yourself what belief, fear, or wound got hit, and what do you want? Part 3 is the R, which stands for either make your request or reframe your thinking. You might find as you go through your timeout and you go through the self-inquiry around what got hit and what you want, it's not something that you actually need to request of them. It's enough to know, oh, that's what got hit. They don't actually have to do anything different. I'm good. Then you can go back and say that, hey, I was really upset. I was flooded. This wound got hit, but you're fine. You don't have to do anything else different. That's on me to work with, right? I need to be responsible with my triggers. But sometimes there is a request. Sometimes there is something that you want done differently that would be supportive to you, and you'd like to ask for it, knowing that the person can say yes or no. Of course. That's why it's a request, not a demand. So the request I recommend you handle like this. You name the upset, the belief or the fear or the wound that got hit, and then you make your request. That sounds like, hey, when you did blank, or when you said blank, I felt blank. Next time, please blank. So for example, when you didn't text me back for 24 hours, I felt like I don't matter. Next time, please shoot me a quick text letting me know you're busy and then get back to me when you have time. Or when you said, here's one, I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head right now. My partner, Patrick, is an engineer by training. And so whenever I have a tech issue, he goes back to square one and starts from square one to work his way through his own mental checklist to figure out what's wrong with the computer, say. And a lot of times he's going back way further than where I've gotten to. It feels repetitive. I wish he would just start where I'd gotten to and go forward from there. But his engineer brain doesn't work that way. And so I have charge on that because I feel like he thinks I'm dumb and like I haven't done the 10 steps up until that point when I needed his help. And so he's had to remind me over and over again that that's not the case. He doesn't think I'm dumb. That's how his brain works. He has to go back to square one and work forward. And so a request in that situation might look like, hey, when you went back to square one and retraced 10 steps that I'd already done, I felt like you think I'm dumb. Next time, would you just let me know, remind me that this is, hey, I need to go back to square one and start from there so that I can troubleshoot. Simple request, which actually he has started to do. So I no longer get triggered in that particular way. Part 4 of the P.A.R.T process is T, and that's for you to thank the situation. If it makes sense to thank the person, do so. Thank yourself. You want to ground yourself in what this situation showed you, how you handled it. If you're happy with, hey, I took myself on a timeout and I regrounded myself and I made a super clear request, thank you to me for taking care of myself properly and beautifully and kindly in this way. If there's a gratitude that you want to share with the other person, maybe they received you elegantly, maybe they heard you well, maybe they adjusted what they did in response, then you can thank them. And at the very least, you can thank the situation for showing you more about what you need to see about yourself and showing you where you have places to grow. So today we've been talking about doing your part for more connection. Pause, ask, request or reframe, and thank. Thanks so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, a great relationship begins with you.